Yeah, and I hope you understand. Like, I'm trying to ask questions that we get. I think I know how everything works because I'm pretty arrogant. But hey, if combat control is going to seize an airfield to land planes, what does SR do during that time? Doesn't combat control just do everything? Like that type of question. Like specifically, our role in airfield seizure, access, and then PR, and then strike as well.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know that those types of, so I'm outside of my lane a little bit. I gotta defer because I don't work for AFSOC right now. I work for Headquarters Air Force. And although we are the functional authority, we're not the command authority. Technically, SOCOM is the command authority. They have OPCON over the assets. So how they employ special tactics and special reconnaissance is not necessarily up to the career field manager or the functional manager. But I would say I wouldn't take it for granted that all those things are as they even look like today will look like they do tomorrow. I think there's potential that all those kind of mission sets get shaken up and refocused. That's not up to me, but I would defer to AFSOC's strategic guidance that prepares everybody for changes like that. I mean, that's kind of the point. It's not going to look the way it always has. So. I don't know what a team might look like in the future. I would say that it's not a given that the same composition of the teams we send out today to do things are going to be the composition that we send out tomorrow. It could be the case that you need a special reconnaissance heavy team to go and do something, to get placement and access, to do something with EW or with cyber, or to just get people to a place where they can do something with something that's more combat control focused or TAC-P focused or pararescue focused or something else. It could just as well be the case that you maintain a combat control heavy team or a pararescue heavy team to do PR, to do airfield seizures, things like that. But I guess the point is, I don't know if the question's answered yet at the unit level, at the operational level. They're still experimenting with those things. I would say, that's where we're at, experimentation. And that's what the guidance is pushing out to. I mean, if you go look at SOCOM, General Clark's training guidance, just from, I think, last year or the year before, he's very heavy on conventional force, special operations forces, integration, interoperability, and interdependence. He calls it CF 3. And that's not a new thing. That's not a General Clarkism. That goes back, I think, a few commanders for SOCOM. But really, since probably Admiral McRaven, SOCOM has started to focus more on, hey, SOF, although very kinetic for the last 20 years, that's not the intent for SOF. The intent is really to be more of a supporting force for the supported force, which is conventional forces. Conventional forces do most of the work, right? SOF typically supports. And when you take SOF out of that box and you apply them in a larger scale, as we did, for the last 20 years, then you certainly have effects, but you have pretty heavy effects on the force because we're inherently small, right? So if you're inherently small, it means you got to do more work over a similar time span. So you really work those people hard, and probably some of them beyond the point where they should be worked. So I would say experimentation, getting closer to the force, that comes from both SOCOM and AFSOC. By force, I mean conventional force. So for us in the Air Force, for us in Special Reconnaissance, I think that means looking at how we employ air power for the benefit of SOCOM. And I don't know that that's been our specific mission for the last 20 years. I think for the last 20 years, we've been really focused on just counterterrorism and really getting after bad folks out there. I think moving forward into 2035 and beyond, I think the focus is more not that mission's going away, and I'm fairly certain that the strategic guidance doesn't say that. As a matter of fact, it says that mission is not going away, but it probably will be scaled back, and our focus will be more about getting airplanes to the places where airplanes need to get to, or air power, that is, to the places where air power needs to get to. So I think that's what we're doing right now. I think we're all in experimentation mode and figuring out what a team looks like. And I believe that's where the commanders want us to be.
But I get questions from kids wondering if they're going to see combat if they join. I know, I'm sorry, but like this is one of my favorite questions that we get. You know, like, hey, if I join Air Force Special Warfare, will I see combat? And that's always a tough question to answer. And I get accused of being super vague about SR specifically from the podcast, but you know what I mean? Like, even when we were Saudi, if someone was like, hey, am I going to see combat? It's like, maybe. If you're joining as a combat controller, like, are you guaranteed to see combat and all these other things? But some of the expectations out there that are kind of overflowing from GWAT, what would you tell those kids that are asking those types of questions and trying to get into the coolest stuff possible before they join?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I would say this. If you want to come and do reconnaissance, special reconnaissance is a great place to do that. And reconnaissance is hard, man. It's hard. It's not always glorious. As a matter of fact, it's often inglorious in the fact that you do things that never make headlines. So if you want to be in combat, I mean, that's awesome, and that's a really great place to start from. But I don't even know if special operations is the focus in terms of that. If you really want to be in combat, maybe you should be looking at an infantry division or something like that. I think special operations is moving to a place that's you're going to be doing things that do not always win you recognition. That's maybe the best way I can say it. And along those lines, we talked a lot about this in terms of recruiting and what it means. How do we like optimize recruiting for those sort of attributes that we're after? And this is only Steve Cox' opinion now. We're in Steve Cox land, so you can take it with many, many grains of salt and then throw it in the garbage if you'd like. But this is my opinion. I think, as we look at kind of the AFSCs today, you have attributes that stand out, right? Like pararescue guys, and this is very general. Wave tops, of course, there are exceptions, and I'm speaking in generalities at great risk. But pararescue men, largely, if you go talk to those folks, they want to save lives. That's what they want to do. They want to rescue people. It's in their job description, right? So they work very hard to do that, and they're absolutely 1,000% dedicated to it. Impressively so. Combat controllers want to. Peaches, you please correct me where I'm off, but combat controllers want to be involved in the fight, man. They want to fight. They want to, and that, like, they love comms. They love integrating. They're fighters. They're warriors. TACP is very similar, I think. Love to integrate. TACP is like an integrative personality. Like, that's their thing. They're integrators. Special reconnaissance surveillance people. I think it takes a psychology that you don't mind it being hard, and you don't mind never getting credit for the things that you do. You don't mind doing hard things that will probably never be recognized. And now we're sprinkling on that this technical capability, a technical aptitude that maybe isn't required elsewhere. But that's how I kind of see those lines, and they're not lines. It's all blurry. But that's the difference in my mind. That's kind of the personality, the psychology that we're going after for special reconnaissance people. If you want to do combat, I mean, it's possible. It's certainly possible that happens. In a reconnaissance environment, you're generally trying to avoid combat. If you engage in combat in a reconnaissance environment, then you either did something wrong, or you got caught, or you're probably breaking contact or something like that. So I'm not trying to shy people away. It takes all those skills to be. It takes combat skills to be in a reconnaissance environment. Those are a solid part of the foundation. But that's not the focus for reconnaissance surveillance, and it's probably not the focus for SOF.